So I put together six, there's probably more, but I put together 6 ideas in terms of how can we as operators increase the reach that we have to customers and how can we leverage that reach to benefit from it in terms of making money in the end of the day. So I'm talking about service bouquets, bundling. I'm talking about freemium model to generate reach. I'm talking about some of the elements you've seen. How can we start talking more smartly to the customer? I'm talking about industry standards. I'm talking about the two-sided idea that has been discussed here at this place very many times before, and could talk about M2M, which might not be the time here. On the service bouquets, what I mean is that we should, in my mind, not talk about separate services individually, selling them to the customer. I think what the strength should be is the way how we think about a bouquet of services that are valuable to a customer. So you'd be seeing some tariffs, and you see some of the tariffs in Deutsche Telekom, but also other operators, which consist of an access part and consist of a service part. The access part is the classical minutes, the classical SMS, the classical data, maybe more advanced, even for mobile, a speed differentiated data. Maybe there's a more advanced, how much data do you put in. In even more advanced, you find here quality of service elements down here. But on the services part also, we can play much more smartly to say, how do we get some more services into the customer base to create value on top of the access that traditionally is very much under pressure. So we think about the tariffs in terms of a good, better, best offer. So this is typically what you get from Deutsche Telekom. And as you go better and best, not only the speed increases, SMS increases, numbers of SMS and so on, but also the number of services you find increases. So you have services, as you've seen in the video, like cloud backup and restore of contacts and stuff like this. But on the higher value tariffs, for example, you find that all the Wi-Fi networks that we have are included in the tariff, which you don't have to pay separately. And even on the higher one, you may find things like a security package from Symantec or somebody else that helps you to prevent virus. This generates a low entry offer to get customers into your tariffs, but also generates, of course, reasons to upsell and to buy a higher value tariff and secure the value over time. The second element, which I personally believe we do not at all leverage in telco, and we should, is to generate reach. So we need to find more ways to put in applications and services to the even lowest, let's say, tariff to the customer for free. Services should be for free. They should come for free. And then within a service like what we now learn from the app stores, you are then monetizing because you're upselling from a free to a paid variant, where you have features like on a phone book, you can resolve telephone numbers. On a voicemail, you can have a visual voicemail and then have a speech to text. On games, you can have the first few levels and then you upsell other levels. On TV, you can have free TV channels and pay TV channels. So many opportunities we have to generate a reach in the first place and then to upsell. And the second lever, of course, is once you use those services as a customer, there's a lot of reason to upsell into the higher value tariffs on the access part as well, as we have heard from the previous presentation, because you need speed, you need prioritization for cloud gaming and so on. The third one is also where I think we can much improve is the way how we can talk to the customer. There's so many ways in terms of generating more information, getting some services out to the customer based on the know-how we have from the customer usage behavior and profile. And these are just a few examples. I'm not going through them one by one, but it's basically saying just an example we launched last week in the Ovi store. Nobody talks about Nokia right now so much, but in the Ovi store, but also we have it in Android. We will have it in other marketplaces. There is in the native marketplace a tab which allows us to promote services. So it's not something we built separately. It's in the native marketplace where we can talk and interact with the customer. Of course, there's self-care web, there's self-care apps, there's landing pages where we can promote stuff. There's a roaming app which generates, the offer abroad when you land with your airplane. Do you want to buy, 100 megabytes or whatever you want to buy? There's a huge lever also we typically use in terms of even customizing the idle screen, because the devices we sell, we can pre-install stuff, and that should be done much more smartly. Also, there's the way how we can talk much more smartly from the idle screen itself in terms of more dynamically bringing information to the customer with what we call an idle screen client. And so on. Even SMS, even interactive SMS is something that can be used much more, where you can have dialogues even down to feature phones with a huge reach to start engaging with the customer based on analytics. Standards is my favorite theme. This is just a slide that I generated yesterday, where I try to say, look, how many customers do we have as a telco out there? And this is the left-hand side. You can debate the figures here and there, but this is pretty big figures. So about more than 5 billion, of what we have heard also from the previous presentation, 5 billion customers doing voice, less so SMS, MMS, but still pretty significant. And even on the data side, 10-20% penetration typically we have differentiated by market on that one. So it's pretty big reach. Why don't we use that reach, as I said before? But secondly, if you look at the what I call IP services there, these are big numbers, admittedly. And I just took a few players because I don't know if there's good market data here. But the numbers are smaller. So my point is, people are talking about DECIDE, downloading an app, a Skype app here, downloading that app there. When we manage to get those services here in a standardized cross-operator way to the devices when you buy the device, there isn't really a particular need for the average customer, not for the sophisticated, advanced one, for sure. But for the average customer, there wouldn't be a need to download a Skype. Why should I? Because it comes already. Maybe now with the Microsoft phones it comes, as we have heard, but typically you have to download stuff rather than it's already there. SMS is there, MMS is there, a voice call is there, so there is no need to download something. But people have to download those services. So therefore, and we have had a debate, Dean, I am very much in favor of driving RCS. I would personally estimate risk of failure is maybe 50% or more. I don't know if that's even politically correct to say. I think there's a huge risk to fail, but I think we have to do it as an industry to create for basic communication services like on the right-hand side. We have to create standards because the customer wants it right there. And the customer wants that it works regardless of the other person that I address or the other people, if I do a group thing, to address. I don't want to make sure that Simon is downloading the app specifically that I want to use, because otherwise I can't communicate. It should work in any case. It should work from the phone book where I see you have a video and I can start the video right there. This is my point in terms of we have for a few basic services to create standards. So the video call is obviously one which we do in the first release. The file sharing is one which we do in the first release. And the messaging is one which we do in the first release. And there's more to come, but that's what you will see, hopefully, nicely penetrating 2011 and then 2012. B2B2X, I call it, two-sided. It has been dubbed previously. Here the point in terms of, again, theme is driving reach and monetizing reach. How can we drive reach? What we do on the retail side is typically those services, the traditional telco services, voice, data, SMS, and so on. We have some telco services that I call here, which is like, for example, billing, which is like quality of service, which is like ID management and things like this. And there are other services which we as telco operators sometimes do, sometimes not, such as storage. People do it, but also some of the telco operators do it. We sell those things to our customers. It's nice, generates some reach, but there is more, right? And what is more is typically done also already today, that we are selling the typical telco communication products to other telcos. So if there's an in-roamer, this in-roamer can also use the voice or the SMS from my network. This is the traditional telco wholesale. So we address a few more customers there, as you can see kind of from the size of the bubble box. Telco service is a bit more tricky. Here, we have to make sure that those telco services, we want to get them out to more channels, such as IP players or even developers. They need to be standardized. That is, again, a point where I think, now my second big topic, wholesale applications community, maybe some even don't know it. Some people confuse it with WAP. When I talk WAC, they think WAP, so it's not there. It's, again, risk of failure of this thing is, again, very high. But we need to have, for telco-related services, like billing, in-app billing, like quality of service, like ID management, and very few more, we need to have standards. And these standards allow us to then sell it to IP players like Google, Facebook, and so on, or even directly out to the open developer sphere. And the global services, if we have good ones that work with the retail side, also we should expose and see that we get more reach with those ones, like storage as a good example, or IPTV in this case, out. And then the reach that we can generate here on the other side of the two-sided business model is then, relatively speaking, much, much higher. M2M, and I'm red, I would not talk about here. Obviously, I mean, that's obvious to everybody. The scale we can reach, not only connecting people, but connecting machines, is huge. My point here would be, let's not only look at the access part of the M2M and going through the verticals. Here, the trick lies in going up the value chain and getting a solution out there which consists of an access, which consists of a service, and which consists of a solution. And this is really the value that we have to generate. And the telcos here are just starting to realize that. And we do too with the MTEM Competence Center that I'm running. Thank you for the attention of this little presentation.
Thank you, Rainer.